We have the New York Giants playing one of the worst football I've witnessed in my entire life. I think it is safe to say we have to go back to when it all started, the 2017 season. So in 2016, we got a 11-5 record, our best record since 2011. Unfortunately, we could not win the division under Ben McAdoo, but it was a very impressive bounce-back season after we went, I think, 6-10 in 2015. Jerry Reese was our general manager from 2007 to 2017, and he's made some pretty solid picks. You know, the Jason Pierre-Paul pick in 2010, as well as the Odell Beckham Jr. pick in 2014. With Eli Manning's career coming to an end, Ben McAdoo wanted to draft Patrick Mahomes, but the Giants front office refused and instead took Evan Ingram. Now hear me out, I actually liked this pick at the time. I didn't want Eli Manning to retire. Our current tight ends were Larry Donnell and Will Tye, and we didn't have many good tight ends. This guy was one of the fastest tight ends, but it just ended up backfiring. We also signed Brandon Marshall, who ended up getting hurt in week 5 and missed the rest of the season. Odell also got an ankle injury and missed the season. Dwayne Harris got a foot injury and missed the season. Sterling Shepard got an injury, but he still played through the season. And this was all in the same game, by the way. Giants ended up losing this game and dropped down to 0-5 for the season. More injuries to the Giants team followed, as well as more losses. So Ben McAdoo at some point in the season started Geno Smith over Eli Manning, and that was John Mara's breaking point. Ben McAdoo would end up getting fired and replaced with Steve Spagnuolo for the rest of the season. Jerry Reese would be fired from his GM position to be replaced with, wait for it, Dave Gettleman. A little backstory with Dave Gettleman. He was actually the scout for the Denver Broncos in 1997, and he did his job so poorly that when they fired him, the Broncos threw a party in celebration of firing Dave Gettleman. As the Carolina Panthers general manager, he disrespected Steve Smith Sr., a team legend, and ultimately got rid of star players like Josh Norman and etc. He would end up getting fired in July of 2017. He made Pat Shurmur our head coach, but I wish he was our offensive coordinator in 2021 given our current state of the offense. Before we move on, here are a few players we passed up on to select Evan Ingram. Dave Gettleman's number one priority is to rebuild the offensive line top down, and considering the 2017 offensive line being absolutely dreadful, it's a very reasonable priority. With that being said, Dave Gettleman signed Nate Solder to a $16 million per year contract. Patrick Omameh also was signed to the Giants for $10 million a year. And as well as drafting Saquon Barkley number 2 overall, the Giants also drafted Will Hernandez in the second round. However, they had to let Justin Pugh and Weston Richburg go. The Giants traded away Jason Pierre-Paul to the Bucs for a couple of useless picks. So basically, while the Bucs got 10 sacks a season, we got Kyle Lauletta. Many years later, and people believe that the Giants should have taken Quentin Nelson in the first round and Nick Chubb in the second round, but no one expected Nick Chubb to be as good as he is today, so I'll let Dave Gettleman off. However, not drafting Quentin Nelson was still inexcusable, so. The run blocking was very solid for the Giants in 2018, but the pass blocking was absolutely horrendous. Eli Manning had to run for his life, and when he couldn't run for his life, he was getting absolutely pummeled by defenders. We didn't even get to the defense yet. The Giants' defense was one of the worst in 2018, and granted that they had B.W. Webb and Curtis Riley starting at safety and cornerback. So the Giants ended up with a 5-11 record in 2018, and there was speculation that Odell Beckham Jr. played his last game in 2018. So Dave Gettleman came out and said that we didn't draft Odell to trade him, and then traded him to the Cleveland Browns. In return, we got Kevin Zeitler, Jabril Peppers, and a 17th overall pick that we used on Dexter Lawrence. The 2019 NFL draft wasn't filled with quarterbacks, granted that Justin Herbert decided to stay at Oregon for his senior year. A lot of experts and analysts had Dwayne Haskins as the Giants' pick at number 6 overall, but no one expected Josh Allen to drop this number 6 overall. And with Olivier Vernon becoming a free agent in 2019, who knows? But then rumors came out for the Giants wanting to select Daniel Jones at 17 overall. And when you think things couldn't have gotten any worse? And with very slim depth on the Giants' defensive side, the Giants ended up trading up to 28th overall to select DeAndre Baker. I think looking at these draft picks a few years later, it just seems like Dave Gettleman was so impatient. This guy couldn't wait another year for a good quarterback draft class, and he couldn't wait until the second round to draft a cornerback. So we ended up signing these two bums and Marcus Golden, who ended up having 10 sacks in 2019, but our defensive line wasn't good enough. So we ended up trading for Leonard Williams, which again was very shocking, but it just seemed as if this trade would be a moment of foreshadowing with these three players. We ended up going 4-12, but not before Janoris Jenkins decided to have some words with fans on Twitter, which ultimately got him released. While we're at it, let's have DeAndre Baker rob people, and then that will get him released too. So we wasted another first-round pick. Pat Shurmur also gets fired, and when you try to find a replacement head coach, you want him to be either offensive-minded or defensive-minded. We end up getting a special teams coordinator that goes by the name of Joe Judge. To make matters worse, we ended up signing Jason Garrett to become our offensive coordinator, and at the time I actually liked this signing, but we did get bailed out, however. By signing Patrick Graham, I think Dave Gettleman's job was extended. So with a lack of cornerback depth, the Giants decided to go out and sign James Bradberry. What an unbelievable acquisition this was. On top of that, the Giants didn't have any good linebackers, so we signed Blake Martinez. Also another very solid middle linebacker, so I thought Dave Gettleman redeemed himself. So because Daniel Jones was getting pummeled in 2019 with the lack of pass blocking by Nate Solder and Mike Remmers, the Giants went out and drafted Andrew Thomas, number 4 overall. He struggled the first year, but in 2021, he's proved to why he was picked number 4 overall. Antoine Bethea was horrendous in 2019, so the Giants went out and got a free safety in Xavier McKinney. What a beast he has been in 2021. I don't think he got snubbed from the Pro Bowl, but what an acquisition it was. But unfortunately, he fractured his foot in August and was out for 3 months, so the Giants needed an emergency free safety. So they went out and got Logan Ryan. What an acquisition that was as well. Everything was going well in that 2020 offseason, with the exception of McKinney's injury. It seemed like the Giants were ready for the 2020 season. Not only that, it seemed as if Dave Gettleman has thought that he saved his job. Then Saquon tears his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. Then we lose a heartbreaker to the Dallas Cowboys, handed to by the referees. And before you knew it, we started the season 0-5. In the Philly game, Daniel Jones becomes a meme, followed by Evan Engram becoming another meme 30 minutes later. Oh yeah, you remember Marcus Golden? He balled out in 2019 with 10 sacks. He got traded back to the Cardinals during the season, and then he did this. Followed by another 8 sacks by the entire Cardinals team. The New York Giants failed to make the playoffs with a 6-10 record, followed by Washington, who ended up winning the division at 7-9. Granted that Dak Prescott was out for the season, the Washington football team couldn't get their quarterback situation fixed, and the Eagles roster was a hospital. 6-10 was a disappointing record for the New York Giants. However, they were pretty satisfied with the way Dave Gettleman fixed this team, quote-unquote fixed this team, so they decided to keep him one more year. And despite the regression in offense in 2020, the Giants decided to keep Jason Garrett for another year. Why? In need of a wide receiver, the Giants ended up signing Kenny Golladay to a 4-year, $72 million contract. While they were at it, they signed Adoree Jackson to be their second cornerback. But here's where it becomes heartbreaking. Remember these 3 defensive linemen? They were a part of one of the best defensive lines in the league in 2020. Dalvin Tomlinson was the second best run stuffer in the NFL in 2020, and it was really heartbreaking to see him go to free agency. He ended up signing with the Vikings, but my god, this guy was the core of our defensive line. So you might be wondering, what the hell did we do with the rest of the cap money? Well, we spent it on this guy. Yep, this one decision by Dave Gettleman ultimately destroyed our defense because we had no pressure in 2021 because our defensive line didn't have Dalvin Tomlinson. On to the 2021 NFL draft, and my number 1 player that I wanted to draft for the Giants was Penei Sewell, but I highly doubted he would drop to number 11, so I was thinking Rashawn Slater would be a better option. He fell to us at number 11 before we traded down with the Bears, but when the Chargers picked him up, he ended up becoming a Pro Bowler, so good for him. After waiting 90 minutes for our pick, well, here's your reaction.
What in the world is wrong with you? Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? This guy actually, are you kidding me?
Micah Parsons was there at number 11, but I didn't actually want him because I wanted offensive lineman, but he got an all-pro season this year. We didn't draft linemen in the entire draft. We had the worst offensive line in 2020, and we didn't take a single offensive lineman. Kadarius Toney, ladies and gentlemen, the guy who is made of glass. We expected this from Devontae Smith. This dude, Devontae Smith, is a twig. Anyways, Kadarius Toney, one of 2 receivers. I think the other one's Diami Brown, to not record a receiving touchdown this season as a rookie. But Dave Gettleman ended up making up for it by selecting Azeez Ojulari. Not just selecting, just stealing Azeez Ojulari in the 2nd round. But not drafting Rashawn Slater really killed us, because that meant Nate Solder was coming back to play for the Giants at right tackle. And he was garbage the first 2 years he played for us. If anything, I think he's gotten much worse. Joe Judge mentioned over the offseason that he wanted his team to focus on fundamentals, like not causing too many penalties, etc., and ultimately become a clean football team. Since that quote, there was a fight between Giants players with Daniel Jones on the bottom of the pile, a fight between Sterling Shepard and Troy Hill with Blake Martinez watching. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Will Hernandez is trying to fight someone every week. I have no idea why. You are one of the worst offensive guards in the league. Kadarius Toney trying to punch someone with a helmet on and then ends up getting ejected. Jeez, these players just never learn, do they? Dexter Lawrence jumps offside a few seconds before Dustin Hopkins misses the field goal, which would have won us the game. And ultimately, O'Shane Ximines decides to jump offside, which ruins an easy Darnay Holmes interception that could have won the game. Explain to me, how is this a fundamental-based team? And the only reason the Kadarius Toney pick looks good is because of this bum. Can't catch a single pass? What's wrong with you? And as if things couldn't get any worse, the majority of our team was hurt as hell. Our medical staff was terrible, and at some point Daniel Jones got a neck strain and is ruled out for the rest of the season. So he brought in Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon. We saw Mike Glennon in Week 5 against the Dallas Cowboys after Daniel Jones got a concussion. He ended up throwing a pick 6, but trust me, this gets worse. Mike Glennon has thrown for 790 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And wait for it, 6 games. So Jake Fromm comes in late in the Cowboys game and drives the Giants 84 yards in passing. I mean, that's very impressive. And I honestly thought he would be our new franchise quarterback. What the hell was I thinking? Eli Manning threw for more yards on this one play than the Giants passing game has in the past 2 games. For those that don't understand, Eli Manning threw a 99-yard touchdown to Victor Cruz, while the Giants offense had 98 passing yards in the past 2 games. And to make matters worse, we didn't even get to see Isaiah Wilson, what he can do. He was a first-round pick in 2020, and the Titans released him because he was having off-field problems. At this point, we believe that Joe Judge is a lost cause. He's just saying stuff that literally doesn't relate whatsoever, like, oh, there's players that wish they can play for me. At this point, I think Joe Judge is going to be flipping burgers on Sundays. As for Dave Gettleman, his number 1 priority was rebuilding the offensive line in 2018, only just to make it 10 times worse than it was before. Even a few former Giants players had to take notice. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, what John Mara did for Fan Appreciation Day should never be talked about ever again. He decided to give season ticket holders, not even regular fans, a free medium soda. Not even a large soda. Are you kidding me? If anything, every fan deserves a refund for watching this crap show every week. Fam, I watch the New York Giants every week on a damn TV for free, and I still want my refund. So let's talk about the future of the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys are probably the most set future team in the NFL right now. They got their franchise quarterback, one of the best offenses in the league, 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates right now. They're going to be crapping on us for the next decade, the Eagles. They've been crapping on us. They're going to crap on us with their 3 first-round picks next year and Devontae Smith from 2021. Washington, assuming they fix their front office problems, we're going to be the laughing stock of the NFC East for the next decade. So thank you, Dave Gettleman. Thank you, John Mara, for destroying this team. I really appreciate it. It gives me more of a reason to support this team. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this. Take care, and rest easy, John Madden.